Hi, I'm Ollie from Electra-Zoom. Now today I'm going to answer a question that we get asked a lot here. The answer isn't as simple as you might think. Let me go into a bit more detail. The electric scooter has become a massively popular form of transport across Europe and America, and we can really see why. They're great for the urban environment, relatively lightweight and portable, relatively cheap to buy and run, don't take up much road space, they're environmentally friendly and a much more enjoyable way of getting about than crowded, packed public transport or sat in traffic. They're great for towns and cities, but a whole host of environments they can work really well in. However, things in the UK are a little bit cloudy, and we're not just talking about the weather. Until recently, electric scooters have been illegal to ride anywhere in the UK other than private land. This is because of an old 1800s law which classed electric scooters as PLEVs, personal light electric vehicles. Now, for a PLEV to be ridden on the road, it needs to comply with certain regulations, be taxed, insured, and also pass safety standard tests, a bit like an MOT or equivalent as you would to be on the road in a car. The next equivalent, if you like, from an electric scooter up is a moped, so just think about the sort of criteria and things you need to go through to get that roadworthy and use it on the road every year. Now obviously an electric scooter, as we all know, doesn't comply with those, thus making it illegal to ride in the UK on the road at the moment. Now I said earlier, until recently, that's because in the summer of 2020, rental electric scooters became legal to ride in the UK. Now the idea behind this is that it's a trial period, so the government have decided to see how electric scooters integrate into society in towns and cities, and this is being done through the rental scheme. So a little bit like what we have with the Boris bikes, Santander bikes as they're now known, we've now got the scooter equivalents. Very simple to use, they simply unlock via the smartphone app that they operate through. That's about £1 to unlock them, and anywhere between 20p and £1, don't quote me on this, per minute of usage. So they're being trialled in various towns and cities across the UK. It's got to be via an approved rental scheme, got to be 16 and over, and they've got a few other criteria which they go through on the app before you can unlock it. So that's a good first step in the right direction if you like. You've got rentals. The trial for the rental schemes will run to the summer of 2021, so it's a year, and the findings for that will outlay what the position is in terms of expanding that to privately owned scooters, which are still currently not legal to use in the UK. The rental scooters are great, and they do have their place. However, there are some associated issues with them which you won't find on a privately owned scooter. Because the rentals are so cheap, they're often dumped and abandoned and neglected. It doesn't look good in the towns and cities, and it just looks like a bit of a mess, which unfortunately the operator has to deal with. It's very difficult for the rentals to provide a helmet for the rider, especially given the current circumstances, something you wouldn't find on a privately owned scooter where you could also have your own helmet. There isn't a huge amount of safety guidance with the rental scooters. Yes, the app does give you some instructions beforehand, some will have a safety video, however you are then left at your own free will to ride around quite busy towns and cities. Now with a privately owned scooter, you've got the chance to use that in a much more controlled environment, even if it's just getting used to it in your living room, getting used to the controls. You've got a proper set of instruction manuals, guidance videos beforehand. It gives you a much better grounding before you go out and use it in a busy environment. If you're using the scooter on a regular basis, it makes more sense both financially and practically to buy your own, just as you would with a car. It's always there when you need it, and you don't need to worry about other people using it. Now of course, there comes a point in this video where somebody's going to clock on and say, well hang on, you're a retailer, obviously you want privately owned scooters to be legal in the UK. Yep, we hold our hands up, that's absolutely true, we are a retailer, yes we would financially benefit if they were legal in the UK. However, we need to take a step back and look at the reasons we got into the industry in the first place. We're massively passionate about the product and the benefits it can provide to society, especially towns and cities. Personally, I use the scooter to get across towns and cities, especially London, which is one of our busiest in the UK. It's great for getting about short 3, 4, 5 mile journeys from the West End to the city. It's so easy, so much nicer than driving. I once did a journey across London. It It's 2 miles in 45 minutes. You've got to find parking, there's congestion charge. Jumping on the scooter is such an easy way of nipping about. Yes, we've got public transport, but that's pretty stretched at the best of times. And at the moment, we're being told to avoid getting in close proximity with people. The scooter makes such a great form of transport for getting across towns and cities. With pollution levels rising and air quality deteriorating in the UK, a study by INRAX found that 67% of all car journeys in the most congested areas are less than 3 miles, 18% of those less than 1 mile. Not only would the electric scooter provide a much more environmentally means of transport, but also much quicker given the average speeds it can attain versus the car sat in traffic. Now, if they're illegal, how are people riding them at the moment in the UK? Well, the truth of the matter is, people are riding them regardless of the current regulation. Yes, technically speaking, they're breaking the law. And no, we're not talking about your stereotypical teenagers here being rebellious. The people using scooters vary massively. I've seen a postman using one, a Deliveroo rider using one. The demographic of users is massive. It's a massive pool of people that this can benefit. Now, before we rush into saying all electric scooters should be legalised, we need to stress there does need to be some regulation in place. We've got some scooters which do 50 miles an hour, completely bonkers, and they're great, but they've got their place on private land, racetracks, or alike. What we propose is that they should be legalised up to a maximum speed of 15.5 miles an hour, which is already the maximum speed of most models, including the very popular Jammy range. It's also the same maximum speed as an electric bike in the UK, which are legal to ride on the roads. Regulation needs to be as clear and simple as possible to encourage people to use them. You shouldn't be required to have a driving licence. A lot of users won't have one already. They'll probably be using public transport beforehand. If you want to encourage them to use new forms of transport, it needs to be easy and accessible. 14 years old is the minimum age. That's what we propose, same as an electric bike in the UK. You'll notice a lot of our suggestions are running in parallel with the electric bike regulation, which I think they should, to keep it as fair and simple as possible across the board. Now, the next thing to consider is safety. In fact, this is one of the most important, if not the most important, part of the electric scooter. I'll also add in there education as well, because it's such a new industry and a new product. There isn't that much information surrounding them. Now, the scooter is only as safe as the person who's riding it. Obviously, riding it responsibly is massively important, which is why if there's speed caps and regulation in place, that makes things a lot safer for everybody. Certainly we'd advise, or strongly advise that is, to wear a helmet, and also bright clothing to be seen, especially if riding in dark conditions as we are in at the moment in February. But also educating the rider about their product. You know, just like a bike or a car, it will need maintenance from time to time. And that maintenance isn't just so it keeps running smoothly, but it's also safety, the brakes, the tyres. Keeping those all up to scratch is really important. A report by the OECD and International Transport Forum found electric scooters pose no more of a risk than bicycles. It further highlighted motorbikes and cars pose a much greater risk in densely populated areas. So safety and education are two factors that we think are really important in building the industry, but also keeping people aware and enabling these to be legalised in a safe manner. Some people may ask, why do we need electric scooters? We've already got electric bikes, push bikes, and we can walk to places if we need to. We're not disputing that they aren't great ways of getting about. However, the scooter does have some plus points on its side. It's smaller and lighter than a push bike, especially an electric bike. If you need to carry it up a flight of stairs, it's a lot easier. If you need to pop it in the boot of your car for a long journey, it's not a problem. You can use it at the other end. The electric scooters are also generally a little bit cheaper than your average push bike, certainly cheaper than an electric bike. Sometimes it's a little bit easier just to jump on the scooter than it is to get on a bike. If you're in a suit, it doesn't get creased, easier to just stand up, whiz down on the electric scooter, then pedal away sometimes. Of course, that is down to personal preference. Hopefully this video has provided some clarity around the current regulations here in the UK and where we could be heading. If we can follow suit with America and Europe, it'll be great for the electric scooter and offer people a real alternative form of transport in the urban environment, getting them out of cars and less reliant on public transport. If you want to know more about electric scooters in general, or the regulation or a particular product, just drop it in the comment section below. Remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content.